Hey moviegoers, with Avengers Infinity War just around the corner, Karen and I decided to rank all the Marvel Cinematic Universe villains from worst to best.
Now before we get started with our list, obviously we know there's going to be lots of differing opinions on this. This is just something for fun that we're doing, and what we've based it on is the amount of screen time the villain is given, what kind of a threat they are to the heroes, the actor's performance, and obviously just our personal preference. And if you're fairly new to the MCU, or if you haven't seen all of the movies, there's a possibility for spoilers, so you have been warned.
And one last thing before we get started, make sure you go down to the comments and give us your list of how you would rank the MCU villains from least to best. Kicking off the list at number 17 is Malekith, the villain from Thor: The Dark World. Now, the reason he's at this spot is he's not memorable. The only thing that he really did was use the ether, which is the reality stone of the Infinity Stones. It's really all he did. But
he didn't even use it.
He didn't really use it.
He just kind of
tried, but failed.
Yeah. And he wasn't that memorable.
No.
I felt like I forgot who he even was.
That he said that you remember.
Yeah, he just kind of looked scary, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Our number 16 ranked villain is the Mandarin / Trevor Slattery / Aldrich Killian. There was just way too much Guy Pearce for me.
Yeah.
And not enough Ben Kingsley. I was very disappointed that Ben Kingsley wasn't the actual bad guy.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
That twist in Iron Man 3 just
didn't work.
Didn't work out. Everyone was a little disappointed with it. I enjoyed it a little bit the first time I saw it, and then the rest I'm just like, you know what? They really made a mistake.
I think it was just I felt like it was not as respectful to the audience, because you knew he was the bad guy from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because of the backstory at the very beginning.
Yep.
So why would you try? We already know he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Why would you try to lead us off but whatever.
Yeah.
So
he would just Ben Kingsley would have been such a great villain had they kept it going. His
Guy
voice
Pearce
is
would have
so
been
great.
too. I just wish they had made a decision and not had it be like
tricked ya.
But maybe that's in the comics or something. I don't know.
At number 15 is Yellow Jacket. Now, this one is obviously from Ant-Man, which Ant-Man wasn't necessarily the most serious of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, and Yellow Jacket to me just seemed like just a copy and paste of Obadiah from Iron Man. And because he was bald, he was the businessman that was running the company.
Close to the hero.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and well, at least Hank Pym.
Right.
And it didn't work out as well as in Iron Man. I do have to say though, I loved the fight scene on the train track. It was funny, but it was cool at the same time. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of jokes in it, and Yellow Jacket just again
not that memorable.
Not a memorable villain, and no lines that he said can you quote. No, I can't.
At number 14, we have Red Skull from Captain America. Now, I love Hugo Weaving, and he's a great actor. But for this villain, I just think he was a little too over the top.
Yeah.
And yet not. It's really hard to explain why I think he's not that great of a villain. I just didn't like him. This is more of a personal preference one.
Yes, it is. He just, the makeup was decent. It just looked like Hugo Weaving in a mask, but I don't know, it wasn't that memorable of a villain. And some of the lines that he says to Captain America, like, "You just don't give up, do you?" And Captain America just says, "Nope." Like, all those cheesy stuff that happens in that movie.
That would normally work for Captain America.
Yeah,
it just didn't quite.
Yeah. Honestly, though, Captain America the First Avenger was probably the worst of the Captain America movies. And that's not saying that it's bad, because the other two Captain America movies are great.
Yeah.
But
I love the Captain Americas.
Red Skull, yeah, he used the Tesseract, and
there's just a lot more better villains.
Yes, there are.
There's just a lot more that are better.
Coming in at number 13 is Abomination. Now, this one is a bit harder to judge because Incredible Hulk didn't really feel like it fit in the Marvel Cinematic Universe simply because Edward Norton got recast, or the Hulk got recast from Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo. And the Abomination really just comes in at the end. Now, granted, you do get Tim Roth playing the human version of the character, and I do like how it starts out with being more the United States government army trying to make another Captain America with the same serum. But he goes and gets Bruce Banner's blood, and he becomes this Abomination. And he gives Hulk a run for his money, for sure. And it was a cool fight scene. But the only really line that I remember, I mean, he has a few memorable lines. Like he says, like a monster when the soldier asks how he feels. And then I love the part where he's like holding a car over the Humvee. He's like, give me a real fight. I don't know why. I like that. But overall, this character, it's better than the other ones that came before it in our list, obviously, to us. But
he's not my favorite.
No.
Again, he's just kind of eh.
Yeah.
And at number 12, we have Ego / the Sovereign from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And both of these villains are just kind of the canned villain that they just got. Ego is just basically conquer the world and the universe, and seems like a cool guy, but you know there's something wrong with him. And then the Sovereign, all the gold people with their video games, shall we say, they're just really, really silly.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this was supposed to be a fun movie, and it was great. I loved all of the little things, you know, with their gaming system, but for the sake of the entire universe, they just were a lot more silly than we would like.
And I do like Kurt Russell's portrayal of Ego.
Yeah, he was very good.
And they cast it very well. And the fight scene was fun with, you know, Ego doing his power and Star-Lord using Pac-Man to go fight. That was a fun fight scene. And I have to give it to them for being creative about it. But
again, for the sake of villains.
Okay. Coming in at number 11 is Whiplash from Iron Man 2. Now, I do have to say I did like Mickey Rourke.
He is awesome
in this. However, his character isn't that big of a threat to Iron Man. He does kind of almost defeat him on the racetrack, but when they end up facing him in the end, as just Whiplash, he doesn't last very long. Maybe 3 minutes maximum against Iron Man and War Machine. However, I do like the fight scene that takes place before that where he has all of his drones going off to fight. That was cool. But Mickey Rourke is good. Whiplash is okay.
And at number 10, we have Baron Zemo from Captain America Civil War. Now, I do have to say it was refreshing to have just a regular man bad guy as opposed to, you know, Loki, a god, or some type of alien force. It was nice just to have a really smart guy wanting revenge. However, with that said, it was also very just... This movie was more about the Avengers fighting each other than the actual villain.
But that's what I like about him, is he's able to build that tension between them and cause them to fight. And that basically tore the Avengers apart. So for just a regular guy to be able to do that, I think that deserves some credibility in the villain realm. So that's why he's at this position in the villain ranking for us, and overall the other villains that we've already listed. At number 9, we have Kaecilius and Dormammu from Doctor Strange. Now, Kaecilius is the main villain that you see the majority of the movie, and Dormammu is just kind of the big overarching villain that you hear about and then you see at the very end. Now, Kaecilius, played by Mads Mikkelsen, who we love Mads Mikkelsen. I thought he was great. He was funny because of Doctor Strange, and I love that scene.
They play off well with each other.
And I love that scene where Doctor Strange is like kind of introducing himself to him. He's like, Kaecilius says, Mr., and then Doctor Strange says, it's Doctor. And Mr. Doctor, It's strange. Who am I to judge? I love that scene. There's a lot that Kaecilius does in this movie, but the best part is that Dormammu scene where it just keeps replaying over and over again because Doctor Strange has the time stone, and he's just looping time until he wins. And it's
it's
really
kind of
creative.
It's a drop the mic moment, I think, where it's just kind of like, how is he going to defeat this guy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how he's going to. Boom. That's it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You know.
And these were very formidable villains for Doctor Strange to take on. So.
And at number 8 we have Ironmonger / Obadiah Stane, and Jeff Bridges is a really cool. He plays
cool guy.
Every aspect of this villain really well.
Yeah.
I think he plays the businessman. He plays the estranged father pretty well until Tony realizes who he is, and then he's really good at. It's okay, Tony.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be bad anyway, and he's just very ruthless and just he gets things done, and that's the kind of villain you want. And with him becoming Ironmonger, you know, he's a little giddy when he puts on the other Iron Man type suit, and it's fun.
And this being like the first villain of the MCU does kind of nostalgia comes up a little bit.
Just a little.
Coming in at number 7 is Director Pierce and the Winter Soldier / Bucky Barnes from Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, Director Pierce is the main antagonist of this movie, but Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, is the one that actually fights against Captain America. So, you know, it's kind of hard to pick one of them. But Bucky just, you know, he's basically the same strength as Captain America. So he's very formidable to Captain America. He gives him a run for his money. He pretty much defeats him, really. And, you know, he almost kills Black Widow. They almost kill Director Fury, Nick Fury. And there's a lot that goes down in this movie. You know, Director Pierce.
The mastermind behind it all.
Yeah, and Director Pierce is the man, like you said, behind the curtain, kind of. You know, he gets the helicarriers that are fully armed, ready to kill millions of people. And, you know, it's almost world-ending apocalypse.
What makes him a good villain is that he thinks he's right in the fact that he's killing everybody, basically, which is always very scary.
Yeah.
And coming in at number 6, we have Killmonger from the new Black Panther movie. For us, it was hard because I almost wonder if he would be in my top 5 as opposed to 6. But again, it's hard. Things change.
Yeah.
But anyway, Killmonger was a very, very interesting, complex villain who, again, just gets things done.
Yeah.
He knows he has a directive. He knows what he's going to do, and he's not going to let anything stop him. So he just goes for it and is very successful for the most part until, obviously, King T'Challa comes back as Black Panther. And
I mean, he kills the other villain in the movie. That's how ruthless he is. He kills Claw. And
who's an awesome, really cool bad guy.
I wanted him to be the main villain, to be honest. We talked about that in our Black Panther review. But
at the same point, it's like...
At the same point, yeah. And he actually defeats T'Challa in the challenge, takes over as king, and it's only when, you know, they both have their powers that Black Panther's able to take him on and defeat him. So, very...
Well done.
Very well done.
Well thought out villain.
And, of course, Michael B. Jordan.
He
did a great job in that movie.
I really liked him as the bad guy, for
Much better than Fantastic Four. Coming in at number 5 is Hela from Thor Ragnarok, played by Cate Blanchett. Now, this was actually a surprise to me because when I saw the trailers and I saw that little antler thing going on, I was like, oh gosh, that's going to be so stupid. But she was actually pretty good. She was definitely a really evil person. You know, she pretty much defeated Thor. She cut out his eye. And
she destroyed his hammer.
Exactly. So she really was a tough person to defeat for Thor, and technically Thor didn't even defeat her. He lets Serta, causing Ragnarok to destroy her. So it's, you know, she's really strong. She's the eldest child of Odin, so, you know, she's an Asgardian. But Thor Ragnarok, it was more of a fun movie, and she was kind of back and forth. She was kind of a fun villain, but she was also very serious.
I think she was a good balance is why I liked her a lot. She could still be in the funniness of the movie itself, because it was very over-the-top jokes and humor and that kind of thing. But she was still a serious villain.
Yeah.
So.
And she killed the three Warriors 3. So, you know, that's saying something.
Right.
And Cate Blanchett, of course, did a fantastic job.
Amazing at everything
she
she does.
She looked great, too.
She's really good at everything, pretty much. I have not seen a movie I haven't liked her in. And at number 4, we have Ronin from Guardians, played by Lee Pace, and I thought he did a fantastic job. He's a really good character. He actually attempts to put himself up against Thanos near the end.
Him.
He full-on threatens Thanos.
Yeah.
You have to give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
And
the fact that he wielded
the
power Infinity Stone.
The Infinity Stone, right. And he's just I thought he was a really good bad guy.
Yeah. I mean, he was this close to fulfilling his plan of destroying Xandar. And what distracted him was obviously Star-Lord's dead.
Which I actually kind of liked.
Yeah.
It worked. I think it worked well.
Yeah.
Even though he's a very, very scary bad guy, he still's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I thought it worked well.
He's a great villain, I think, and like you said, Lee Pace did a great job. His voice sounds awesome, and like you said, threatening Thanos.
And he has some.
He's a very small.
He's got some really good dialogue too.
Yeah.
Some of the things he says, you're just like, it just fits really well with his character. He did a really good job. Awesome direction on their part.
Yeah. James Gunn's part.
Thank you.
And at number 3, we have Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, played by Michael Keaton. Now, this one was actually a surprise to me because, having Michael Keaton play a bad guy, I didn't know how it was going to go because I see him as Batman all the time.
Especially a flying
bad
guy.
Yeah. And I mean, he was in Birdman as well, so he's always playing like a superhero with wings that flies something. He did a great job.
Especially as the dad.
Yeah.
That was when I felt like he was the most scary when he was the dad. That was when I was the most uncomfortable. And I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And
that
not
scene
to
alone
mention,
it was awesome.
And you kind of want him to realize that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Oh, you were at Washington, D.C. with my daughter, and Spider-Man happened to be there, and now wait a second. It's like, how does nobody else figure this out?
Yeah.
And it's like, he figured it out. You got to give him some props for that. That was really awesome writing.
And the fact that he's kind of self-made, kind of like Iron Man, except a poorer version, I guess. He made all of his technology from, obviously, Chitauri tech, primarily.
Right. And not to mention, he's kind of that Robin Hood villain where he's stealing from the rich, basically, but really not giving to the poor. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
And at number 2, we have Loki, which might get us a few thumbs down.
Yeah, because everyone else always has him at their number 1. But
maybe not everyone else, but a lot of people have Loki as number 1. And he is a great villain.
Yeah.
He's very, very sneaky, and you never know if you can trust him or not.
Right.
Obviously because he's the bad guy, but also because he's partially good, too.
Well, he's really the only villain that's had 2 outings as a villain.
Right.
Thor and Avengers. Yes, he was in Thor: The Dark World, but he wasn't necessarily the main villain.
Right.
And he was in Thor: Ragnarok, but again, he wasn't the main villain. Avengers is probably one of the best, if not the best, Marvel movie. But was Loki the best? Very close.
Yeah, it's hard. It's difficult.
Yeah, he was good, for sure. And Tom Hiddleston obviously does a great job as Loki. And of course, in Avengers, he's a very formidable bad guy because, yes, he has the help of a Chitauri army, but he was able to, temporarily at least, split up the Avengers and make them kind of fight against each other.
And he wields an Infinity Stone.
Exactly. Without really knowing it. I don't think anybody knew that that Mind Stone was in the staff, except for maybe Thanos. But why would he give that away to Loki to use? I don't know. And at number 1, our favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe villain is Ultron from Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, a lot of you will probably disagree with this, but to be honest, I really liked Ultron. I loved James Spader's voice. He did a fantastic job. I do have to say I was a little disappointed with how they treated his character in some aspects, because in the trailers they made him look like he was going to be this ruthless bad guy and just he just sounded so cool. And then in the movie, he's just cracking jokes, and he's supposed to be this AI, artificial intelligence, and he's like forgetting words. But I still liked him as a bad guy, and he almost succeeded in his plan with dropping Sokovia down on the Earth and destroying Earth entirely, which...
He creates vision, basically.
Yeah.
And again, Ultron is one of those villains where you just don't know how they're going to beat him because he's everywhere. He can control pretty much anything that he wants to because he's part of the internet and he's just everywhere. It's like, how are they going to defeat him? And the other reason I really, really, really like Ultron is that in the Avengers, Tony Stark sort of creates him in a sense. And they're talking about the creation versus the creator theme throughout the whole thing. And then, since Tony Stark can't defeat his creation, it's interesting that Ultron's creation of Vision ends up defeating him. And it's just a really cool, like, full circle story that just is like, wow, that was just mind blown.
Yeah.
And it was just great. And I loved Ultron.
Yeah. And of course, the movie, I really like Avengers Age of Ultron. They introduce Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Vision, obviously. And I just really like it. It's a good movie. And what else can we say about Ultron? I liked him as a villain. You may disagree, and that's fine. But that's our choice for number 1.
So we want to hear from you. What did you think of our list, and what kind of list did you have? Did yours change after what we've talked about? Did it stay the same? Did you completely disagree with us on something? We want to hear about it, so let us know in the comment section below.
And if you like this video, be sure to give it a big ol' thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you can be notified of when we upload new content. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.